Hey guys, it's Kim here with Fairily Fiber Fun. Thanks for joining me on part 3 of ways you can spin a blended top. So before we get started, and while I'm setting up my wheel, I would like to give a warm welcome to new viewers and a welcome back to returning viewers. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss new videos as they come out. And as always, I do appreciate all of your comments, questions, and suggestions down in the comment section. Okay, now that I am just about done getting the wheel set up, it is time to show you what we're working with today. So this is a faux lag. In essence, it is a fake rollag where you just roll up a chunk of fiber in your hands. It doesn't change the orientation of the fibers between themselves. So I'm breaking off a chunk that is quite a bit longer than if I were going to spin from the fold. It's about 2 to 3 staple lengths. It's not critical at all for this. And then I am trying to sort of organize it, spread it out a bit so that each stripe is separate. And then just roll it up. And you want to very gently work those ends around to get them to stick. And merino sticks very easily. Here's a close-up of the same process with another strip of fiber. And I overlap slightly where it wants to come apart in the middle. It doesn't matter if it does come apart. Rolegs do sometimes fall apart if they get a weak spot or a thin spot in the middle, and that's perfectly fine. With this particular piece right here, it was all weirdly twisted up and I don't know what was going on there, so I just decided to use the entire piece. Originally I was going to split it in half, break it in half, so I would make 2 faux lags out of this, but it was weird, so I just went ahead and used it all. So it doesn't really matter how much or how little fiber you use in a faux lag. So I did pull a little piece of floof out and I'm folding that through my loop on my leader and spinning away. Some people don't use loops in their leaders. I do. It's just less fiddly and I don't have to worry about the brand new spin coming off the leader and driving me bonkers. So I have a loop. Every one of my leaders is actually a double strand that I have tied together and cinched onto the bobbin. So I always have that loop unless it breaks, and then I don't have a loop unless I tie it, and sometimes I just don't bother. But anyway, to spin a faux lag is just like spinning a rollag. It's very loosely rolled up, and again, like I usually do, I have a very loose hand on the fiber. I really don't want to have a death grip on it because, well, there's really no reason to have a death grip on your fiber. It's easier to draft if you don't, and things just go a lot smoother. It isn't, the colors aren't pulling out individually the way I wanted them to for this first rollag. I mean, it kind of is, kind of isn't. Depends on what part of the rollag is drafting, or what parts, because sometimes you get the inside. There is some color chunking, I guess you could call it, especially right here where it went from black to blue to green, and then it's a green and pink mixture, and then a pink and blue mixture, and then, you know, so this is a very good substitute for spinning from the fold if you don't want to do that, but I find it often just wants to barber pole like crazy in the singles. Like this right here. It's really pretty, but it is definitely barber poled. This would make a very beautiful single yarn, but I am going to ply it because I'm plying all of these little samples to see how they go, to see how they compare. There we go. So for this second faux lag, I'm actually pre-drafting but very gently, like barely pre-drafting. I don't want to overdo it. I just wanted it to be a little easier to spin. So that's what I was doing right there. And indeed, it does make a world of difference. I do go back to the not pre-drafted version, and I ended up drafting little bits at a time as I went through the faux lag, just because it was driving me nuts how difficult it was to manage the fiber. So this is a million times easier. As you can see, I'm not fighting with the faux lag, and everything is going so much more smoothly. I really prefer to have my rollags, faux lags, stuff like that pre-drafted a little bit. It just makes life so much easier. And then I can spin at the speed that I prefer to, which is quite fast. None of this footage has been sped up except for the very first clip where I was preparing the wheel. So this is the way I spin, and the draft distance changes according to how the fibers pull forward and how they cling together and all of that, and that's going to be determined by the fiber, the prep, and the staple length. Merino is not a very long stapled fiber. So anyways, here's another a little bit closer view of what my hands are doing, just to show you the drafting. And that backhand is barely showing in the screen, but I am very, very lightly holding it, and I will release that fiber and shift my hand so that the fiber can move forward frequently. So it becomes instinctive after a while of spinning. If you're new to spinning or you've never done it before, it's not something you have to concentrate on. It's something that naturally happens as you need to move your hand a little bit on the fiber. It literally becomes an instinctive thing. So it's not something to be concerned about or to really focus on. Here is some more color blocking happening, as in the colors are coming out in sections instead of all mixed together. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how this compares to the first one where we're spinning from the fold. Now, I did decide to go back to doing the Andean plying bracelet straight through the flyer instead of off the bobbin. But I'm not going to bore you with too much of this. This is, again, real live speed. This is how fast I do it once I get the rhythm figured out. This is how it goes. But I am going to switch it to the other hand before I start plying, just because I've figured out at this point it's not worth fighting to try to do it off of the left hand. It just doesn't work for me. So, and in this regard, I didn't have to break it off the leader because the leader's hooked up the way I want it through the flyer already. I don't have to rethread the flyer. So very carefully switch the plying bracelet to the other hand. If you're not careful, the whole thing will come undone and you'll end up with a giant tangled mess, because that is not a continuous circle. It is a big loop that wraps around and overlaps like crosses. And so it's very easy for those crosses to come undone and the whole thing to fall off, which is what happened in part 2. The first, where I had where my single broke and I had 2 little bracelets going on, and the first one completely fell off my wrist. That's why it fell off, because of how the Andean bracelet is made. So again, it's just regular 2-ply, and this went incredibly smoothly because I had it set up properly. I'm doing this the way I prefer, and everything's going swimmingly. So there's not a whole lot more to say about this. I think out of all the ways that I have spun this fiber, this has been the easiest so far. I'm not a fan of merino, so part of my struggle has been this is merino fiber, and I don't get along with merino very well. I prefer it in fleece form where I can prep it myself, but it is what it is. Anyways, so I am trying to not allow my bias against merino fiber flavor this series in any way, because this isn't about merino, this is about blended top. I just couldn't find any that wasn't merino. I know there's some out there, but I wanted to support a woolen fiber arts vendor, and they only have the vendor that I found that has blended top only has merino. It is what it is. Doesn't matter what fiber you use, the theory is going to be the same, and the results are going to be similar regardless of what you're spinning. So I like the way this looks on the bobbin. It's really pretty, and yeah, this is probably the best spin I've had so far. The next two, I believe there's two more coming, two more parts to this series, and they will be requiring the blending board and I think the drum carder. So we will be playing with those to see what happens. Oh yes, there's three more, because the next one, part 4, is one I'm really excited about, but it is the most fiddly. So you'll have to come back to watch part 4 and see that one. Anyways, we are at the end of the video, and I'm about to show you a final picture comparing the 3 bobbins. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!